Welcome back. You want help to stop feeling so nervous? I'm Coach Step. We're going to dig deep today. Welcome to Battling Nerves, Part 3.
Silence the lies, sever the ties, light up the skies with your dreams. Give up the ghost, grab onto faith, open your heart, believe, yeah, your life can be no more mystery. You can live out while you're here. Empty can breathe fully.
Good morning. I miss you. I hope you miss me too. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming back. Today is Part 3. We're going to talk about the 3 Ps. I don't really want to tell you what they are yet because I want you to stay tuned and find out. Let's get going. So, first P is preparedness. I have a friend who hiked 2,000 something miles, and the preparedness of this man, my goodness. I mean, there were spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of all the gear, how to pack it, where you were going, what tools to use. I mean, this person was prepared. And then, once he got out there, snowstorms, rainstorms, lightning storms, things got in the way. You're better able to adapt when you feel prepared for lots of different scenarios. You say, oh, Step, I got this one down. Whenever I'm like right about to fail at my audition, I'm like, dear God, please help me. Yeah, that's desperation. I'm not talking about that. My version of what I'm talking about with prayer is actually listening. So there are plenty of acting techniques out there that will tell you that acting is really about reacting, listening, and reacting. And that's true. What gets in our way a lot of times as actors is we are so concentrating on all of the things that we need to do to communicate the story that we forget that people are watching the listening. You know what the lines were because you memorized them that you are supposed to hear back from the other person. But that doesn't really mean that you are listening. How do you make yourself listen better? I will give you an exercise. You're watching YouTube, so you probably don't have, a room full of people to do this with. So I'm going to give you an assignment to go forth and go out into the world, okay? And ask someone some questions so that you can strike up a conversation. Now, here's the listening part. As they start to talk, what happens in human nature? If somebody starts talking about the new shirt that they bought, then instantaneously we're like, oh, that reminds me of the new thing that I bought. And I would like to now talk over them and share with them the fact that I have bought something. You see what I'm saying? So when somebody's talking and they say, oh, the other day I had this amazing apple pie, immediately we're like, oh, that's right. That reminds me of the food that I had the other day. Oh, well, you want to know what? And so what happens in our society is there's a lot of one-upping. Can even happen with tragedy. Oh, yes. Well, I also was tortured and left for dead for 3 days in a basement, but they also cut off my foot. So, wow, that went dark. And so it's that need to respond that we need to get rid of. It's all great if somebody tells you something and it makes you think of your own connection, because that then bonds you to the other person. And as it turns out, is a huge acting skill that you need. So let it take you to the place that it reminds you of your own. Practice eliminating the need to then share your own back. It's hard because a lot of times we feel like we need to say something to initiate that connection. As it turns out, you're better off feeling the connection, connecting with them in a way that says, I'm listening to you, without having to share your story as well. Believe me, you're an artist, you'll be sharing your story. Now, what you do when you practice this is you start to feel more connected to the other people in general. So as they talk and you go, I know what that's like on a certain level. Thus, I feel more connected to you as a human. I've got an interesting story for you on listening. So I was practicing this in my young acting life. I say young, still 20s, And I had worked in casting, so I knew a lot of directors and producers because of the projects that we had all worked on. But I was at a Christmas party, and this producer was in a circle of people I was talking to, and she goes, "Step row." I didn't panic that much where my eyes were like, "Meh," but I have the feeling that, hey, I'm connected to you kind of went, she must have seen it because she said, "Oh, don't worry, we've never met." And I was like, "Oh," and she goes, "But I know who you are because we almost cast you in a project. In fact, we agonized over it for a little while." And I was like, "Oh, tell me more." About that time, I didn't get the part. And she said, "No, you were so good at the comedy that we really were going to go against our type," because they had wanted a man for the part. And I said, "Well, why, just out of curiosity, why didn't you?" And she said, "Well, we had already contracted a female to play the part of the police officer. And so we really wanted, one female, one male." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." No, cool, right? So she said, "Well, what are you up to now?" And I said, "Well, it's Christmas, kind of slow." In a room full of actors at a Christmas party, we're all just sitting there going, "Well, I've been, and I was also, and when I'm not working, I'm working, and I'm working." We try to just validate our existence 24/7. And for some reason, I just knew that day that it really shouldn't be about me proving myself, because she introduced herself with a validating story, right? She said, "Hey, that thing you did, we actually thought was so great, we almost went against our type and cast you." So just thought what I was hearing was just be there. So I had said, "Yeah, it's kind of slow right now. How are you doing right now?" And she said, "Oh, well, Christmas, I was like, no, what's going on with Christmas?" "Well, and then she went into this whole story about loss and her father and how Christmas was actually a really difficult time for her. And about 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in, I don't know, she just looks at me and she goes, "Why am I telling you all this?" And I was like, because it's a party. It's time to wind down from work. I think I said something like that. But the point is, actors so often have that desperate need to prove that they're valid in their art that they have to tell people who else believes in them. When in reality, the people that you're talking to are just broken human beings as well. They just get to make the decisions. So listen to that quiet voice that says, be there. Comfort them. Make them feel loved. Now, of course, that was not a performance moment. That was just, a real human being interaction. But practicing that over and over will get you into the habit of being an authentic listener. I would encourage you to do that. Because in actual acting, I do have to think of something to respond with and say a line. It's true. But it's going to go so fast. So you have to practice listening on a deeper level. And that can be done in real life in conversation. think about what is the other person sharing with you, and beyond responding to it, what kind of need do they have that you could fulfill? Does that person need comfort, validation, someone to just say, I hear you? That sucks sometimes. So if you practice that deeper listening in your real life, then when you go into an acting scenario, part of you is living the part, and the other part of you is actually thinking through the lines. This will activate so many focus points. A lot of those nerve things go away. You don't have time for that. You're too busy actively listening and trying to figure out why somebody needed to share whatever it was they shared with you. Well, think about it for a minute. When you're praying, you're saying stuff, words out for some sort of thing to come back, right? We rarely give time for that answer. When I say listening practice, what if you do that in your spiritual life as well? What if you do that in a way that says, okay, I'm nervous. I'm going into this audition. I'm terrified. My hands are shaking. And then you say, I'm going to quiet all of this for a moment. What do you want me to know right now? And chances are it'll be a worthwhile objective. Save the child. Hear them out. Make them feel loved. Bring joy. And if those are the things that you're hearing back in your prayer life, you can be a lot less nervous, right? Because it's not about people watching you. Actors are not nervous to act. They're nervous to be watched and evaluated, right? So take that out of it. Pray before you start and listen. What is really important about this next scene that you're going to do? What is the important human objective that needs to come across? We're helping you to become a more authentic and present person, and then you can become a more authentic and present actor or artist. Because, as it turns out, this leads to the final P. I'm going to be super honest with you and say, when I first stepped out into the on-camera world, if I had found a coach that said that one of the most important things was figuring out your purpose, I probably would have gone somewhere else. So I'm going to challenge you to keep watching. I'll tell you why. Because I know I was in a hurry. I was in a big, fat hurry because I didn't get into the on-camera side of things until mid-20s. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. All these kids have already done Disney and Nickelodeon and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it's Hollywood, so you only have so much time to make it until you're irrelevant as a female. So, you know, all of these pressures. So if somebody had said, I really need you to sit down and do this deep emotional work on yourself, I probably would have been, I'm going to go to this other guy that tells you the quick and easy steps on how to burst into Hollywood. And there was a whole workshop I took for an entire weekend, and you didn't even act until the last day. And the first day was just all about how much you suck. No, I'm kidding. It was about how many things about you would have to change if you truly wanted to pursue this in Hollywood fashion. So it was all about how to change, you know, your lips, your teeth, your body, your hair, your eye color. I mean, just pretty much everything. So, yeah, that was maybe not the most healthy, but I'm saving you from that. So skip that step and come to this step. See what I did there? Okay. So we started off this whole conversation by talking about how to battle nerves, right? And we've gone over some ways to help you with just the little things. But if you truly think about it, everything's going to come back to why are you there? I don't think it's any coincidence that most of the actors that I work with end up becoming filmmakers themselves. Because somewhere along the line, the passion to connect by sharing important stories and authentic stories becomes bigger than just portraying a character within a story. You'll go out for 100 auditions and 99 of them will tell you no. It's almost like a crazy pursuit. Why would you continue doing that? Do something else. Working hard is great. Striving for excellence is great. It's what I expect. But it's an art form. So you can't be the best. Because at some point, somebody will watch and they'll be like, wasn't my thing. They will. It's art. We're not all going to agree on what the best performance is. We're just not. So the only thing that we can do is attach what we do to a higher purpose. For me, I've come to the conclusion that connection, something that I avoided, let's say earlier in life, and have spent the better part of the rest of my life working to heal. It can help you to feel a special connection while you're on a set to another person, and you feel a healing take place. It can be the project itself that you really believe in the moral of the story and you think it needs to get out there and to touch people and change their hearts. There are roles that sometimes actors have to take to deal with something in themselves that needs to be healed. And if somebody feels moved and changed slightly inside because of what they've witnessed, that can help change them from within. Purpose. Why are you doing this? I want to help encourage people to connect with others. I want to help encourage people to get out there and work on the hearts of their communities. Now, whether that's encouraging you as an acting coach or me myself getting to heal and by taking on certain characters or getting to make certain films to make my point, it's all connected back to the same thing. So, take some time today to figure out what's your higher purpose. And then let's see if that helps you with the nerves. So you can see why you'd have to be super prepared with material if you're going to be concentrating on this higher purpose thing. If you're going to be practicing the art of listening, then those words can't be what you're thinking about. The room can't be what you're thinking about. People watching you can't be what you're thinking about. You have one audience member, and that is the person sitting in front of you that you're trying to have an effect on. Well, hey, this is your journey. And if you're not ready, then you have to choose to do this at your own pace. Some of the things that you might run into are lingering problems with nerves, right? Or the opposite, the complete opposite is apathy. Your performances are prepared, you're doing well, but there's just something missing. You're limited on the scope of your emotional portrayals. So you may not be able to cry on cue. You constantly cast as the same angry guy. But most of the people who seek out Connexus want to be the best, well-rounded, most capable of doing any kind of role artist that there is. So when you're ready for that, come back and see us. So it's time to wrap up battling nerves. We've been on a pretty long journey. 3 levels. We started out with just your mindset and how to think about auditions, then moved into the physicality, your physical body, and lastly, your inner motivations. So, are you ready to get out there and think about auditioning in a whole new way? Till next time, I'm gonna get back out there. You get back out there too. Thank you so much for subscribing. That way you get the content as soon as it comes out. And feel free to share with anybody who you think needs this information, even people who aren't actors.